Hey guys, welcome back to A Guy and His Junk. Today I wanted to go over what's the best oil for your vehicle. There's a lot of different choices out there and a lot of different things you can choose from, and there's a couple things I wanted to go over. So, first and foremost, if you're choosing what type of oil, you need to go off of your manufacturer specifications. If your vehicle calls for 5W20, put 5W20 in your car. If it calls for 0W20, put 0W20 in your car. Same thing with 5W30 and so on. There's a specific reason why we need to follow those guidelines. Today's engines, unlike the older engines, the ports for your oil is getting smaller and smaller. So you got things like your hydraulic lifters. Those have very tiny holes where oil can get in there and keep it lubricated. So you want to make sure you're sticking with the type of oil that your engine calls for. I know a lot of old guys, a lot of old timers state they will never put that type of oil in their car. They don't think it'll work great, but it does state that for a very specific reason. So make sure you're putting that specific type of oil in your car. If you don't know what kind your car takes, you can either look at your oil cap, a lot of times it'll say it on there, or you can also refer to your owner's manual. If you don't have your owner's manual, you can also call your local parts store and see what they recommend. They will have all the information on their computer for you. So make sure you are following your engine specifications. Another thing we can cover is what kind of oil should I get? Should I go with this type? Not type, brand. I am talking about brand here. My bad. With this type, does this type rate for my car? There's not too many difference in the oil types, or not types, oil kinds. Different brands, different names. It's pretty much all the same. You got the cheaper kind and you got the more expensive kind. I'm not going to go into what kind I'm going to be talking about. We should all know by now. Very reason why I'm not going to go into it, because I don't want to be called out from some oil company getting all mad at me. So you got your cheaper kind and your somewhat more expensive kind, and generally they're all going to be the same. I have used really cheap stuff, the cheapest stuff I can find at Walmart, and the most expensive stuff. Now, the most expensive stuff is another thing we'll go over, because that is the best. But everything else underneath it really doesn't matter. Some people will state that this one's better than this one, or I'd never go to this one and use this one. But it's all the same. I have never put an oil in my vehicle and noticed a huge difference besides the oil I'm going to talk about. We'll get to that in a minute. So whether you want to spend $18 for that oil, $20 for that oil, or $30 for that oil, it's all going to be the same anyway. There are so many laws and regulations against oil and oil manufacturers that they don't have much room to move. They can't go out, grab some vegetable oil, throw it in a container, and call it motor oil. That's not how it works. So, when you come into types, if you need something cheap and you're not spending over 30 bucks on oil, just buy the cheaper one. It's going to save you money in the long run, and you're not going to notice a difference. Okay. So, one other thing I want to go over is the expensive brand. And the best brand I have ever found. Royal Purple. It's the best motor oil you'll use and the best motor oil you're going to find. Now, it is quite pricey. For 5 quarts, at Walmart, it is $38. That's in US. And for 1 quart, that's $10. For you guys overseas, I'm not sure your pricing over there, but you can probably justify with US. But you see that pricing, and it kind of scares you. Go, hey, that's a lot of money for an oil change. You're not wrong. But one thing I will tell you I have noticed with Royal Purple, out of every oil on the market, is that Royal Purple is going to add 2 miles to the gallon to your gas. That is a huge difference. So let's take a look at what 2 miles a gallon really means. Is it worth doing it? Is there a way you might be able to get free oil changes? So, what we're going to talk about first is the average car, small car, which generally they get about 30 miles to the gallon. Depending on what you drive, it's about 30 miles to the gallon. So, for your oil, I recommend that everybody change your oil at 5,000 miles. Yes, I know, you old guys are going to argue with me, but with these new times and this oil, we don't have to change it every 3,000 anymore. 5,000 miles will work just fine. I just want to pause myself real quick and touch up a little bit more of why we do 5,000 miles per oil change now. The reason they used to say 3,000 miles per oil change is because cars back then, back in the older cars, they didn't have oil filters. So they had to change that oil more frequently. Nowadays we have oil filters and a lot better oil. So you can push your car to 5,000 miles. If you're running Royal Purple, I've even gone to 7,000 miles. It depends on what you're using. Generally 5,000 is my thumb. I always try to change it every 5,000 miles. So that's a little bit more why I say we go to 5,000. And a lot of people are starting to agree with me that 5,000 is the new point. Some oil does allow you to go a little bit further. I don't totally agree with 12,000 miles on oil change yet, but definitely at least 5,000. So here we go. For 5,000 miles, if you're getting 30 miles to the gallon, you'll end up with 166.66 gallons used in that 5,000 miles, which will cost you, at $4 a gallon, will cost you $666.64. Okay? Not too bad. And we are talking about $4 per gallon, because I don't know where you're at, so I'm going to go a little higher. Now, if you add the extra 2 miles to the gallon, and we say 32 miles, in the same 5,000 miles, stinking bugs, you'll get 156.25 gallons used with those 2 extra miles, which will end up costing you $625, which amounts to $41.64 saved just by switching oil. Now that's $38 for the oil if you're using 5 quarts. That pays for it in itself, right there. That's pretty hands down easy to pick. Okay? Now let's talk about this again. If you have a big truck, you got a big SUV, and you're not pulling no 30 miles to the gallon. Let's go up here, let's go 30 miles to the gallon. Let's put 32 down here. So we're gonna have it all nice on the whiteboard. Sorry, chicken scratch. So let's go down here. Actually, let me erase that. That'll make it a little easier. So let's say you get 15 miles to the gallon right now with the motor oil that you use. Okay? At 15 miles to the gallon, in the same 5,000 miles at which you'll change your oil, you'll end up using 333.33. At $4 a gallon, that'll equal 1,333.32. So again, we will add the 2 miles per gallon extra since you're now using Royal Purple and go to 17. At 17 miles per gallon for 5,000 miles, we use 294.11 gallons. Times that by the 4 ends up being 1,176.44. Or equivalently, that'll save you $156.88. That is a huge amount of savings. That pays for the oil change and then some. So is Royal Purple worth it? Yes, hands down it is. So if you can find it, I've had some problems with Walmart currently not stocking Royal Purple as much as I'd like them to. I've had a few times where I had to go with a cheaper brand because I couldn't find Royal Purple no more. As soon as I went to the cheaper brand, I went from here down to here. I even seen it down to 13 miles to the gallon. As low as it got. So Royal Purple's really worth it. So if you have the ability, if you're able to, switch over to Royal Purple. It'll save you money. And I mean, it's a free oil change, essentially. Other than that, that's all I have for the oil. There is a couple announcements I do want to make. We are planning on moving out of this rental here soon. So we're in the transition phase of trying to get out of this garage. I'm putting everything in storage for now. We're moving to our house, and so my videos might come down a little bit. I'm not sure. I will keep trying to post as much as I can, but my time is very limited, especially with trying to move. I'm still trying to work on that house, so I'll post as much as I can in the meantime. Other than that, guys, if you'd like to join me and buy me a coffee, that'd sure be nice. I'll leave the link to my coffee page down below. Any amount of money would sure help. If I get any of that, I'm actually going to put that money towards my truck to hopefully get that fixed. I mean, that's, again, $2,500 I'm going to need, so I don't expect that much, but any amount of help would really be appreciated. Other than that, guys, thanks for joining me, and catch you next time.